On July 25th, 2025, after a 17-month-long rollout, Benjamin Lasky, aka Quedeca, dropped his fourth full-length album and third concept work, Vanisher Horizon Scraper, releasing it with a gorgeous visual companion film. And this release instantly felt major in terms of Quedeca's insanely impressive trajectory as an artist. Another step forward in his craft. Vanisher Horizon Scraper, if you don't know, is a concept album that follows a sailor who decides to leave his old life behind and start anew, sailing across the ocean to discover a new purpose in life. In doing so, he becomes infatuated with this idea of reaching or scraping the horizon. Through this epic odyssey, we watch as the sailor tries to come to terms with the vast loneliness of the ocean, reflecting on his past and becoming all but obsessed with reaching the impossible. I absolutely love this record, and the fact that Quedeca left the majority of it up to interpretation, alongside just sounding great. It gave me an incentive to keep coming back and continue to put the pieces together myself. And after countless listens, I think I have a solid interpretation on this aquatic and ethereal journey. So I'm going to go through it track by track and give out my personal interpretation and insight. The album opens with the track No Questions Asked, which is a primarily instrumental track, with the only lyrics being the repeated phrase, Throughout the album, we learn bits and pieces of the sailor's life prior, and from what we are given, it wasn't the greatest. I see the repeating line to be this idea of leaving everything behind to chase a new meaning, repeating in his head. Almost a siren song for adventuring into the unknown. This call being what sets him off on his voyage. In this track, we are introduced to the gorgeous instrumentation and string arrangements that will be the norm throughout most of the record. The second track, Waging War, gives us more insight into the sailor's state of mind through the introspective lyrics detailing his past and present battle with depression. In this track, the sailor goes back and forth, debating the journey he's about to take, waging a war in his mind, battling out pros and cons, while Aleka, who is present throughout basically the entire album, whether it be with background vocals or instrumentals, in the role of the sailor's conscience, debates whether or not this is just him trying to take the easy way out and run from his problems, or even using this voyage as a way to indirectly take his own life, with the repeated line in the chorus, the sailor assures himself this journey isn't a death wish, even going as far as talking right to his depression in the final verse, denouncing the grasp it had on him, with lyrics like, which flips the common thought I wish I was never born, that many who suffer from depression have. The next track, Ruin My Life, is one of my favorites. The first part is a soft acoustic tune, where the sailor thinks back on a time when he was younger and had his whole life ahead of him, dwelling on all the things he thought the world owed him in a sense. Then, the sailor, trying to justify taking this journey, uses the concept that he might have to ruin his life to make it his own again, implying he has to set off by himself and face nature if he wants to bring back purpose in his life. Towards the second half of the track, we get the first introduction to Harry Wilkinson from Maruja to the album. He will come back in many tracks, sort of acting as a narrator to the story, or even a higher power watching over the sailor. Then finally we get the explosive breakdown as these drums come in that just sound so damn good, as the sailor starts seriously doubting his decision, angrily repeating to himself over and over again. During this journey, the sailor stumbles upon a bottle floating in the water, the label withered away with time. The sailor, being stuck out in the middle of the ocean, alone for an unknown amount of time at this point, believes the bottle could be a sign of life, or even maybe a message from a higher power, hoping the bottle is God-stained. Through further investigation, he realizes that it is indeed just an old empty bottle of windshield wiper. And in the end, it's just a piece of trash floating across the ocean, which he relates to himself with the line, The first half of this record is a bit more introspective and takes its time letting you learn more and more about the sailor's state of mind, both while on this voyage and before it, cluing you in on possible reasons he set off in the first place. After Godstained, we get this immediately jarring transition into At a Time Like This. This track is maybe my favorite off Vanisher. At a Time Like This has this super heavy and layered production that always blows my mind every time I hear it, and it is maybe the most integral in terms of figuring out more about the sailor's headspace. In this song, the sailor is clearly not taking well to how everything has played out so far. It's maybe his first big realization that he's going to die out here. But despite that, he will continue to persevere on this journey. The final verse on this track has some of my favorite songwriting on the whole record. Directly after this, we get maybe the most hopeful track on the album in Monday. where the sailor begins to accept his situation and acknowledge the fact that most good things in life don't come easily, and that he must hold on and persevere through the turmoil. With the sailor's newfound acceptance of his situation, we get the most fun track on the album, Dancing Without Moving. Where the sailor basically just celebrates being out on the sea, and almost feels at peace knowing his fate is up to nature. He's content just going with the waves. The next track, That's Why, is the last of the more introspective tracks, as after this, stuff is really about to go down. In That's Why, the sailor talks about his past issues and explains why he decided to set off on this journey that will more than likely lead to his death, explaining that he had so many chances to make something of his life, but his fear of change or messing up has stopped him until now. I saw so many new horizons and did not pursue it. Following the opening up with the repeated chorus that feels ingenuine and almost sarcastic, making his rapidly declining headspace and mental health apparent. With I Dream About Sinking, we get a calm ambient track where the sailor has a dream about sinking. It starts off calm and unconcerning, as if he were just floating through the water, and then it starts to build more, feeling almost haunting, signifying that the sailor is drowning or sinking in this dream. And then finally, it ends back in a more calm and beautiful place, as though the sailor's subconscious believes that going out like this might be the best solution. Then we get another major tonal shift with Natural Causes. This track is very unnerving in its atmosphere and brings more attention to the sailor's paranoia that's been subtly growing throughout the record, with the repeated lines. This somebody could be interpreted as a few different things. Perhaps it could be the sailor feeling that death is imminent, and that the aforementioned somebody is sort of just the concept of death, or even the Grim Reaper. The somebody could also be a more literal entity following him, one that we will see the appearance of in a couple tracks. Although even then, it's highly up to interpretation if that is all real or just in the sailor's head. He's really losing his mind out here if you couldn't tell. In this track, we also get multiple lines alluding to the possibility we are veering into apocalyptic territory, with repeating lyrics about many dying on different days. Somebody died this morning. Finishing the song off with Although again, with basically all of this final act, it's very unclear how true this is, as the sailor is beginning to show he's an unreliable narrator, who is clearly struggling with his sanity after being alone out here for possibly months at this point. The sailor's weary mental state takes the full forefront on Thunder, as this song reads as him completely breaking down and having a manic episode, amplified by the aggressive and abrasive production on the track that gives it this intimidating feel. In this song, the sailor is essentially calling out a possible higher power, or nature itself, to strike him down. In his lonesome delirium, he believes the fact he survived this long out here means he must be invincible, taunting nature to do something, anything to him. This newfound confidence won't last long though, as this impending force he's feeling closing in on him in the previous track will finally show its face. The Great Bacchanal is the most theatrical and whimsical track on the entire album, using the legend of the Bacchanal, a mythical sea serpent in Philippine mythology, to finally take advantage of the tension that's been building. Danny Brown has a verse on here rapping from the perspective of the Bacchanal, and overall this track is just awesome. The haunting sample at the beginning and the immaculate drums on the back half. It's just the most fun and playful track, and also the track where many people's interpretations will start to differ widely, as it is unclear if the Bacchanal is real in the concept of the album, or just a personification of the sailor's paranoia. Personally, I don't believe it's real. I think the story is pretty grounded in reality, all things considered. And it being a figment of paranoia ties together the album's themes a whole lot better. But we only have a couple tracks left, so I'll save that for the end. Closing in on the end, we go into Foregone. All in a haze, there's a life underneath. And God, do I love this song. It's this grand emotional ballad that serves as a release, and also the last we will hear from the sailor in full. The magical sounding keys and choir-like backing vocals make the atmosphere in this track truly something special. This is the sailor at the end of the rope, but he's not completely gone yet. There is still a life underneath. Throughout the record, there are brief nods to the potential loss or breakup of a past partner, and that playing a big role in the sailor's decision to embark on this quest in the first place. And it is fully apparent on this, as he seems to be singing directly to this past lover, apologizing for ways he's hurt her in the past and trying to give himself closure, but he can't, as implied by the final lyric being cut off. The song then ends with this gorgeous instrumental outro that somberly transitions us into the final track, Casper. This track opens with a few brief but grim lines from Quedeca as the sailor sounds utterly defeated. He's at the end of the road and you can hear it. Then Harry Wilkinson of Maruja comes back for the last time and takes over the track, becoming the sole vocals for the rest of the duration. With this poetic and impassioned spoken word, Harry, still acting as the narrator or higher power, narrates the lead up to the sailor's inevitable demise, giving us an overview of this entire journey as the instrumental starts progressively picking up, incorporating the instrumental from the opening track No Questions Asked, and adding this swarming drone into the mix to build up suspense, until it finally all bursts, with these massive drum kicks reverbed and altered to sound like waves crashing as it signifies the sailor struggling to keep himself from drowning. But ultimately to no avail. As he passes, the waves finally calm and the album closes on a quiet ambient of the ocean. And that is Vanisher Horizon Scraper, a massive epic about the dangers of running away and trying to escape confrontation. A cautionary tale warning you what happens if you keep chasing new ways to escape yourself. It tackles so many themes, touching on depression, suicide, paranoia, healthy and unhealthy ways to cope with trauma, the dangers of total isolation on the mind and body, and more. It is just one of my favorite narrative works of the last few years, and it continues to grow on me more and more as I keep peeling back the layers of it. I know people are tired of the Quedeca glaze at this point, but I seriously think he's just that good. But let me know your thoughts on both Vanisher and my interpretation. Do you see the mythological and otherworldly aspects to be real in the context of the story? What do you think about the sailor's motivations? Let me know all your thoughts down below, and stay kind.